So, how do you plan for a backcountry camping trip? I'm going to show you how. Hey, everybody, Chef Corso from Monte Boca. I'm about to head out on a backpacking trip, and I'm going to walk you through my planning process for this because it can get pretty challenging. If you're new to Monte Boca, we provide recipes, full trip meal plans, and handy pocket-sized cookbooks to be able to take out with you on your trail. There are a lot of things to consider when you are going out on a backcountry trip, and we're going to go through some of those today. So follow along as I bring you along through the process of planning for my trip to the North Cascades National Park. I'm going for 5 nights and 6 days, which is a pretty big one. Not everybody has to go for 5 days. You can go for 1 or 2 or 3, which is much more manageable. But here we go into the North Cascades National Park in Washington State. If you like this kind of stuff, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Throw us a comment out over there about where you're going, because I'd love to know where you guys are planning your trips right now. So how this is going to work, I'm going to go through kind of the general basics, and then we'll do a little bit more of a deep dive into my specific trip, because all trips are different. But the first thing you need to know is where are we going and for how many days. So find your route, get your map. I highly recommend getting an actual map rather than having it on your phone. Your phone can die. There are a bunch of really great apps out there that can help you out with mapping, but it's always really nice to have a solid option here to really be able to map out situations, your elevation, your topo, and the overall miles that you are going to be going every day. Which goes to our next point, miles. How many miles do you want to go every day? Do you want to get up at the crack of dawn and do you want to crush it for 17 miles every day? Maybe you do, and that's okay. Or maybe you want to have a nice leisurely, enjoyable time where you're only going to do 5, 7, 8 miles a day. The thing about that for folks who had never done that sounds like, wow, I have never walked 8 miles in my life or never walked 8 miles ever. Well, sure, but you usually have a job or usually have other stuff going on. But when you have nothing else to do, when you are going on a backcountry camping trip and hiking trip, you literally, that is your job for the day. You are hiking and you have plenty of time to get through it. You can go fast, you can go moderate, you can go slow. It all depends on what kind of trip that you want to go on. So the other thing to consider is weather. Different parts of the country, different parts of the world have different weather patterns. So make sure to check your weather before you're going. And if there is some challenging weather, whether that's that's rain or cold or other challenges, is make sure to plan for that for your gear and your layers. Other thing to consider is as you get higher up in elevation, it will get chillier and colder. So make sure that you plan for your wool hat and your layers to be able to accommodate that. Where if you start at a 500 feet and it's 80 degrees, but maybe at 5,000 feet, it's gonna be 45 in the evening. I'm not sure. So something to consider. Next is permit. Do you need a permit? Do you need a forest pass? Do you need a state parks pass? Do you need a backcountry permit? Or are you just going out in the bushes wherever you're going and you don't need one? But make sure to check on that. And if you do need a permit specifically for some of the national parks, is plan ahead, because a lot of them fill up quickly, or you can only get them day of or day before. Check out the specific park that you're going to, but the national park website has a lot of really great resources for you. Next is logistics. What kind of hike are you going on? Are you going on a loop? Are you gonna drop the car off? Are you going with 2 people, 4 people, 6 people? Do you need 2 cars? Are you gonna do a through hike? So you're gonna put 1 car at the beginning and 1 car at the end? Are you gonna shuttle that around? How does that work? It's something to consider that a lot of folks kind of leave to the last minute of like, oh, right, like how are we gonna do that? Oh yeah, okay, I guess we're gonna drive the car and then leave the car, and then, oh, it took 2 extra hours, and then we're having a really tough day 1. Next is meal plan. What are you gonna eat? And that's the area where I really like to get going, is have a really good meal plan for yourself or for your crew. Ask if there's dietary restrictions, if there's something that nobody likes. Ask what kind of camp stoves that you're going to be cooking on, because that can help dictate what you are going to cook. So that's another factor. But I'll always say is I like packing a little bit more weight so I can eat a little bit better. And a couple other things are water. So water is readily available at our home in the cities, but when you head outside, is you just need to ask the question of, is there water available? And oftentimes there is a river or lake that is pumpable, that is clean enough to be able to filter or treat in some way to be able to be potable. But make sure you ask that question, because some areas can be a little bit challenging for either the desert, which naturally has less water, the Rocky Mountains has less water in some areas, but even parts of the Northwest, as you're getting up into some higher elevation, they don't have a standard reliable water source. So make sure you ask that question, is there water available? And then how are you going to get it? So you're gonna have a pump, you're gonna have a treat, you're gonna treat it, or you're going to use a steri pen or some sort of other situation. And lastly is food storage. So a lot of hikes we go out is in bear country or critter country. So make sure you have a bear canister, or some national parks have bear wires, but then you need to have a bag to put all of your stuff in. And if there's no bear wire, then you're gonna need a rope and something to pull it all up with. So that's another thing to consider. So if all of this is overwhelming, don't worry about it, because there's a lot of stuff to consider in order to plan a trip. But we have a great PDF to be able to help you do this, for water, food, where you're going, how you're gonna get there, who's going, all that kind of thing. So check out montyboca.com in our packing page, or check out the show notes below, where we'll have that available for you. We also have a couple great checklists for gear, for cooking options, for other things, to at least give you a head start for knowing what to bring, but also knowing that it's your trip, so you can bring whatever you want, or you can bring nothing. It's up to you. But we've got some great resources for you to be able to at least get you started. But to recap on those things, so we've got route with a map, we've got know how many miles you want to go each day, check the weather, check the permits, check the logistics, the cars, how you're going to get there, who's going, what kind of gear you're going to take, what kind of meals you're going to take, and with meals is what kind of water and what kind of food storage. And then eventually you have to pack it all up and finally get out there. So hopefully this is a little bit of a window into what it does take to plan a good backcountry hiking trip. Each trip is so different, but if you have any questions, let us know. We'd be happy to help. Because it can be pretty intimidating for the first few times, or if you are going to an area that you're not super confident in. And another great resource is call the ranger station, ask the rangers. They are the experts in their park, so utilize them. They love answering questions. So if you are interested in my trip to the North Cascades, I'm leaving in a couple days, and I'm going on 5 nights, 6 days. I went on a solo trip last year to the Olympic National Park, and I had a phenomenal time. I think it was 4 nights, 5 days. I went a little over 50 miles, so I was scooting for most of the days. But what I learned from that last trip is that I wanted to take a little bit more time. There were a couple campsites that I could have stayed for hours and just really enjoyed. So for this trip, I decided to take a little bit more time and not crush miles every day. So my mileage goal is around 8 to 10. I have one day that's a little bit up to 12 or 14, but that's my goal. It might not be your goal, but that's what I'm planning for this trip that I'm going on. I'm going by myself. I'm going on a solo trip, so I'm carrying everything, which is another consideration. For permitting, I'm going to need to go up to the ranger station prior and make sure that I get the necessary permit to be able to go on this trip. For me, I got to work out some logistics. Since I'm going by myself, no one is going with me, I got to figure out who's going to drop me off and then who's going to pick me up. So for my overall plan, what I want to do is I want to start here, which is one entry point for the national park, and I want to hike all the way through here over to eastern Washington, and then come back up this ridge and then back down to Stehekin, which if you are a PCT thru hiker, you know Stehekin. It's a great old Northwest lodge, but I'm going to have my last day here, and then I'm going to take a ferry down here, which is going to take a few hours, and then someone's going to pick me up here. So I've got a lot of logistics, but overall I'm going to cover probably around 60 to 70 miles over 6 days, with an extra nice treat of a night down here, and then an extra travel day, because this ferry is going to take a couple hours to get down. So basically I just started looking at campsites, looking at locations, and just mapping out the overall miles. I have multiple different options here when I go to the ranger to see which one is actually available. But I just started mapping out campsite to campsite with overall miles for my day. And once I get to the ranger station, they're gonna help me figure out if this is crazy, if this is gonna work. If they raise an eyebrow at you, then it's always good to kind of listen to that. Also, what's really important here is to have an alternate route, because this number one option could be full. So I've got an alternate route here where I'm going to maybe some different locations, exploring some different areas here, and it's still gonna be really nice. Some of the things I am concerned, because it is October and it is getting a little bit late in the season, is weather. The weather is looking pretty solid, maybe a little bit of rain, but not too bad. But overall daylight hours, summer hiking is really easy because it's light all day and all night long, but the sun is going to go down a little bit earlier, so I just have to be mindful of that for the overall plan. And I don't necessarily want to crush days for this specific trip. I like crushing a whole lot of miles on other times, but not this time. And always really important, miles are one thing, but elevation is another thing. So as you're really starting to look at some of the topo lines here, is really to notice how much elevation gain and loss that you're getting. Because sure, 6 miles could be a breeze, but it could be a whole lot of up and a whole lot of down, and that's going to take a lot of energy and a lot of time. So what I'm hoping for is to start here at Johannesburg, go up here through Sahali, go along here, camp at Cottonwood for night 1, walk along a little bit of the PCT, stay at North Fork for night 2, and traverse along, hit up Dagger Lake here on night 3, and then keep on going over here to the Twisp River Valley. So a couple campsites over here, and then so that's what's that, night 4. Night 5, let's see, I'll be actually way down here off the map. And then night 5, go up the War Creek Trail, gaining some significant elevation, probably about 14 miles this day, staying at Juanita Lake. And then for my last day, going down about 8 miles, and there'll be a nice bed and a shower and a beer waiting there for me at Stehekin. So I'll have a nice chill day and then a relaxing boat ride down for my pickup down here. Follow along next, because we're talking about how to get a permit and that whole permitting process, at least for the North Cascades up here, and then on to meal planning and gear. So we talked about the plan for your trip, but now it's permit time. So I drove up here to North Cascades National Park. I'm here in Marble Mount at the ranger station waiting. So for normal times, you come up here to the ranger station, you talk about the trip that you want to do, make sure it's open, and then the ranger will give you your permit. But because of COVID, only one of the 5 or 6 ranger stations for this specific national park is open. So you got to come here, grab a ticket, get in line, and hope that your plan and the area that you want to go is available. So right now I got up nice and early. There's only about 4 or 5 people in front of me, but I came up here earlier and there were about 30, 40 people in front of me, and it took over 2 hours to get a permit. That's not normal, but double check the website of the specific national park or state park or wherever you're going to make sure that you have the permit that you need for your trip. So for me, I've got my plan here that I've written out for the things that I want to do, and also my map, and talk to the ranger to get what I need. And I know some of you might be thinking like, oh man, this is really annoying. Like, I just want to get out there I don't need a permit. It's dumb. I don't want to do that. It's like, well, one, you have to. But the two main reasons why this is important is that one, keeps public lands protected. And so they're limiting the overall number of people that are going to each location, which is overall a good thing. It just means you have to be a little bit more flexible and have a little bit more of a plan. But the other main reason for this is safety. So if you hike your plan that you eventually agree to with the ranger, they're going to give you a permit, but they know where you are. So if anything happens, they can come find you. They know if you're leaving your car at this location or this location. They know generally where you're going. And if anything happens, they can come find you, which is really, really important. I know you think, hey, I'm fine. Nothing's going to happen. Well, you just never know. I was on one trip in Glacier National Park, and my group was fine, but the group next to us broke their leg and a helicopter had to come in. I don't think they were planning for that. So it's really important to get your permit, hike your plan, and it's an overall good thing. So just go through those steps. Also, something to consider and something to think about is trust your ranger. They know the national park better than you do, and they know if there's a forest fire, they know if there's a washout, they know if there's an issue on the trail that you need to be prepared for, and some options might not be open. So trust your ranger. They're awesome, really, really knowledgeable, and they can really put you on a good path. So we're going to go get a permit. Hopefully I get what I want, but stay tuned for the next chunk, which is meal planning. So how do you meal plan for a trip by yourself for 5 days and or how long am I going for? For 5 nights, 6 days. It's kind of a long time. So how do you meal plan for that? So stay tuned. Yes, got the permit. Okay, so we've talked about the plan. We've talked about the permit. We got the permit for where we need to go. Now it's time to talk about meal plan. So I'm on the road here. I've got my pack all already set up here, but I need to put some food in it. I'm here in Darrington, Washington, which is a couple hours north of Seattle, and I'm going to do my provisioning up here. I don't have my normal pantry at home that I can pull all my spices, all the dry goods from. So I've got my nice new meal plan here that I'm going to test out. So I've got shopping list. I've also got some nice new recipes in here that I can follow when I'm out there. But the thing about this challenge is if you are a thru hiker out there, is resupplying. It takes a while. There's a lot of planning involved. Sometimes you just throw a bunch of stuff in your pack and you don't really even care what it tastes like, but I care what it tastes like. So part of this trip is testing a new meal plan for you guys, you long haul thru hikers out there that think food doesn't matter or that you can't cook amazing meals outside. But I will gladly be the guinea pig for you guys to make sure that the recipes work for when you take them out there and cook them up. This is our beautiful Darrington IGA, pretty classic, smaller town grocery store. And the other challenge with this, the ingredients that I'm going to be eating over the next 5 nights, 6 days are going to be coming from here. And then I'm going to come back and pack them up right here and put them right in my bag so I can get going. we've completed our shopping trip, so we're all loaded up here in the back of the rig to start our picking and packing. And this may look like a lot of food, but it's also, I'm gonna be gone for 6 days. I wanna make sure that I have enough protein, have enough actual nutrients, carbs, and overall different flavor profiles to keep me interested over a whole week. So what's on the meal plan for this week? Well, good question. So we've got multiple things. We've got some great Carnation instant breakfast to keep us going if we need a quick breakfast. We have jerky, which hydrates really well with our ramen. We've got some summer sausage, some cheese, pepperoni, lanyangers, bagels, fully cooked bacon, gravy mixes, pre-cooked grain mixes, which can turn into a really great lunch, stovetop stuffing, classic Idaho potatoes, some cheeses. And you are noticing I do have some fresh vegetables and fruits here. Is don't be afraid of these. I will pack these along for a lot of my trips. These pre-cut options are really fantastic. And then cook those up on day 1 or 2 because they'll easily last that long. And then you can go to just being a super dirt bag from there. But for breakfast, we're gonna make apple granola. So cooking up our apples and throw in some granola bars or some pre-made granola. We're gonna make bacon cheddar grits with Jiffy cornbread mix. Really great, cheap option to make breakfast, lunch, or dinner. For lunch, we're doing classic meat, cheese, bread situation. I know all you hikers out there love that. Plus a couple grain bowls. So one of these is gonna be for lunch, and I'm making a pizza grain bowl. So we've got some pepperoni, some cheese, a little bit of red pepper and Italian seasoning, maybe a little bit of oil in there. And that'll be a really quick, no cook, no burner lunch. And it also changes it up besides just having meat, cheese, bread, or just a couple bars for lunch every day. For dinner, I've got 3 dinner options. So we've got stovetop stuffing with turkey gravy and a little bit of vegetables and probably a little bit of extra protein, cheddar bacon, potatoes, and then also we've got vegetable beef ramen. Just adding a few different ingredients can really jazz up some of those pantry classics. So one note on packing, as we are gonna start putting these things together, is we're gonna take all of these out of the boxes because boxes take up room. And then if you are packing liquids along, is try to be a weasel out there and look for nice, easy plastic bottles. So this was just a quick little margarita that I took down here in the parking lot. And this is, what is that, around 4 ounces. Really helpful for packing some soy sauce, some oil, or any other liquids that you do want to pack, but also nice and compact. So utilize some of the beverage bottles or the juice bottles out there to be able to pack some liquids. And another note on packing besides bottles is bags. So if you don't have any stuff sacks that you're bringing along, go ahead and pick up some quick Ziploc bags. You can throw those in there really quick. I like to carry along a few stuff sacks with me so they can go right in here and they're reusable. But if it's a big pinch, you can't find anything, you can also just use the plastic grocery bags that you're picking them up. But I prefer having these stuff sacks. They're a little bit more sturdy and a little bit more easy to use. All right, so let's pack it up. So we're all packed up here, and overall this looks like a quite a bit amount of food. My initial reaction is it could be too much, but the thing is like, I don't know that. I'm willing to go carry this and test this out and report back to you guys to see what is left at the end of this. Is maybe I eat everything, and maybe I really do need this. Maybe I really need to rethink this at the end of it. This is why we test. Or this could be like, I just ate amazing for a whole week and I had an amazing time. But I'm excited to find out. Other question is, what am I cooking on? So what I'm taking for my trip is I'm taking Super Dinky Pocket Rocket. So everything here will be able to be made in this stove. I might have to make 2 small portions in order to fill me up for the evening or the morning. But sometimes that's worth it to be able to have a smaller stove, smaller footprint, and smaller weight. But it's all things to consider when you're planning for your trip. Another question you may be having is, well, how much does this all weigh? Very, very good question. So I did bring a scale just to be able to double check. And for any trip, it's up to you on what you want to carry, what you're willing to carry. If you're willing to carry a camera stand because you want to take a great shot and that's extra pounds, you want to take your pet rock, it's up to you. For this, what we have here in the back of the car here is right around 10 pounds. And I know that's going to be shocking for some of you because you're super ultralighter and you're going to be like, I eat nothing and I carry 2 pounds. That's fantastic. This is what we're testing for this trip, and follow along to see how it works out and see if my back hurts or if this was the most ridiculous idea ever. I don't know, but we're gonna test it to see what happens. For me, I'm not too concerned because I know what's going in the rest of my pack. I've got a really nice light pack. I barely take any clothes because I don't really care, because I really care about food. I really care about having a good, satisfying meal almost at every time. So I don't know about you, but I'm ready to get out there. I want to see if this works. I want to see if it's not that heavy and not that bad. And I'm really intrigued to see what happens at the end of it, of just how hungry I am along the way. And for future meal plans for you guys is what we can potentially delete from this or modify from this for a dietary restriction, a flavor preference, or even more ultralight dirtbagger. So next up, we're gonna talk about the gear that I'm taking. And then finally, I'm gonna be able to go out in the bushes. Awesome.